The following video reveals that the Dems and their counterparts in the EU are focused on transforming the former USSR satellite countries when the Brookings Institute discloses that they are measuring democracy in these countries by whether or not they legalize and accept homosexuality and transgender. The Brookings Institute also discloses that the conflict between the Dems in the U.S. and Russia is over Russia refusing to legalize homosexuality and transgender. These disclosures support that the U.S. orchestrated the overthrow of Ukrainian President Yanukovych and the installation of progressive presidents Poroshenko and Zelensky in order to transform Ukraine into a Darwinian atheist cult science-based anti-Christian communist haven for homosexuals and transgenders, like the U.S. and the EU have become. Here is the interview.
Ben, I know you got a lot to go through. We'll put it up on Getter over the weekend, but this article that was in the Washington Post and then put up, was it in Foreign Policy? Where else did I see it? Oh, Brookings Institute.
Brookings,
right? You got to read, just read it, read the lead-in from the editor's response, and it says everything you need to hear. Just please read that for our audience, sir.
Yeah. The key line here for me is the degree of respect for LGBTQ people has increasingly become a measure of democratic health in former Soviet states. If Russia were a place where pride parades were allowed, its quarrels with the United States and ours with it would possibly diminish. And that is an astonishing thing. I think an astonishing thing to be saying.
They said the quiet part out loud.
Exactly.
On the page of the Washington Post. And then Brookings loved it so much they put it up there. Just repeat that about what the heart of this problem is. They said the quiet part out loud and put it in print. It's so shocking.
Okay.
What did it say?
So the headline is the question: what does a pride parade have to do with NATO? More than you might think. The degree of respect for LGBTQ people has increasingly become a measure of democratic health in former Soviet states. If Russia were a place where pride parades were allowed, its quarrels with the United States and ours with it would possibly diminish.
The following clip reveals that the progressive communists in a Democratic Party and rhinos are focused on transforming the former USSR satellite countries when it reveals that they are using U.S. tax dollars to pay NGOs, including the Human Rights First organization, to look for incidents concerning homosexuals and transgenders in these countries and Russia, in order to use them to pressure members of Congress to threaten the former USSR satellite countries and Russia with reductions in U.S. economic aid if they don't transform their countries into havens for anti-Christian homosexuals and transgenders. The following clip also reveals that the Human Rights First organization is being paid U.S. tax dollars to help the Communist Democratic Party hide the fact that the Muslim immigrants they are bringing to the U.S. to destroy America's Judeo-Christian based society and build a voter base among is made up of Muslim terrorists and Muslim terrorist supporters.
The U.S. needs to be speaking out, needs to continue to speak out, and put its money where its mouth is in terms of maintaining leadership with U.S. money for foreign aid overseas.
Melissa Hooper is the Director of Human Rights and Civil Society Programs at Human Rights First, an organization whose mission is to ensure that the United States is a global leader on human rights. Hooper wants U.S. senators to speak about human rights issues and draw attention to abuses.
When we do have instances where you have a senator taking the Senate floor and mentioning, Vladimir Kara-Murza or another human rights defender who has been threatened, we have seen those people be released. That happens. And so I think that making a statement that this is a violation, that the U.S. does not condone it, and the U.S. will take action, that sends a message that is really strong.
The Carter Center's Human Rights Defenders Forum brought Hooper to meet with Senator Bob Corker, chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. She discussed human rights abuses in the post-Soviet region and her hope for the expanded role the U.S. could play.
We spoke about the deterioration in human rights around the world and how important U.S. leadership is in maintaining the standards we have for human rights globally.
Hooper wants the U.S. to continue to impose sanctions and is also concerned with Russia's alleged online dissemination of fabricated stories about migrants, Muslims, and others.
There are messages, anti-human rights messages being pushed globally, but also in the U.S., being pushed on Twitter, being pushed in social media, and that the U.S. needs to be countering, putting a force out to counter those messages and to make clear that it stands in leadership of certain standards.
The Dems and Rhinos' economic sanctions and overthrows of the governments of former USSR satellite countries in order to advance their liberal world order are all part of the U.S. fulfilling the mother of the abominations of the earth, found in Revelation 17:5, and the fulfillment of the U.S. becoming responsible for all who are slain on the earth, found in Revelation 18:24. I would like to point out that the Roman Catholic Church and all false religions, which are commonly taught in the churches as the fulfillment of Babylon the Great, are not fulfilling the mystery, the mother of the abominations of the earth, or becoming responsible for all who are slain on the earth. The U.S. is the only country in the world that is capable of fulfilling Revelation 17:5 and 18:24.